Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our show this week. I'm Lois Coatney, and Haley Nielsen, who's usually with me on these as my co-host, she is taking a well-deserved time off this week, so I'm going to be hosting this show by myself, but I have a great guest who I'm excited to have join, and maybe we could bring Wendy on stage. So Wendy Redshaw is joining us this week. She is the Chief Digital Information Officer from Natwest Bank. And I got to know Wendy last year. She was nominated for our Women in Digital Awards. And she not only won a category, but she won Digital Titan for 2024. And what that means is, you know, we have a number of categories. We have like digital innovator, we have rockstar leader, we have women's advocate. And what the judges do is they take a look at all the winners for those categories and choose someone who they think really exudes and really is so accomplished across all those categories. And that is Wendy. So we're so thrilled to have you with us this morning and get a chance to talk to you and get some insights for you. So thank you for joining.
Thank you very much, and what an amazing welcome. I remember that moment of being a digital titan so well.
Oh, good. Well, that was so great. So, you know, I think before we, jump too far in, I think just a way, introduce, I guess, a bit of who you are, how you decided to go into IT. I think looking at your resume, you jumped into technology pretty early on. And so, you know, what made you choose that field, and, you know, how did you work your way through your career?
Yeah, it's like, did IT find me? I suppose, yeah. Or did I find it? Yeah, I suppose it's a really good question. So, I mean, technology wasn't really considered to be a topic for girls when I was younger, but I did love maths. And that's what I studied at university. And it had an element of computing included in it. But when it came to graduation, many of my friends entered a career in accountancy, and I just didn't think that was for me. So I went to see the careers advisor at Imperial College, and they said that I should do something that I felt inspired by. What inspired me? And I'd said that my mother was rather artistic, and my father was an engineer. And when I was a little girl, I used to watch my father in his garage making one of his inventions to solve some practical problem or another. And I remember thinking that my father's work was actually both logical and creative. And so I said that to the career advisor, and they steered me towards a career as a software engineer, something I'd never heard of before. And he described it as both creative and technical, and how the future would be. Shout out for him, frankly, because I started at a firm then called Logica, and they insisted that all graduates, even ones who didn't have like a really strong technology background, they were all trained to the highest standards in all disciplines. So from typically technical aspects such as like technical analysis, coding, architecture, like testing and production support, all the way through to functional analysis, presentation, and even sales. You have to be this really well-rounded person. And I ended up majoring in human-computer interaction and knowledge engineering, which was a precursor to the AI excitement that we have today. So I guess everything was rooted in working collaboratively for customers, and a hybrid of people, technology, and really business. And that triumvirate really has followed me and shown up all the way through my career. So I would say that IT kind of found me, if you call it IT, but if not, then probably it was there all along.
Yeah, that's a great way. You know, I think so many, being in IT myself, it's a great area just to be a problem solver and to figure out how you can apply technology. That really is the exciting part of it. But the other interesting thing that I noticed looking at your career, I mean, you're at NatWest today, but you've been in banking, I think, since it seemed like from day one. I mean, just some of the names, I dotted them down: Deutsche Bank, Royal Bank of Scotland, Lloyd's, Barclays, Halifax. I mean, that's quite a list of huge brands, banking brands. And I thought about as I saw that, because technology, again, as you mentioned when you started, as a girl. You didn't see a lot of people starting in technology as a girl. So that in itself is a industry with not a lot of women at the top, not a lot of women having leadership roles. But banking is the same. I did a little bit of research, and it also seems like maybe 20 to 30% are women. So you're really in this interesting segment that, I mean, I just wonder, when you started, did you kind of feel like you were the only girl in the room all the time? Did you get that sense? And did you feel like you kind of needed to maybe work a different way or adapt a little bit? What was that like?
Oh, I think, Lois, I think I was conscious of the disparity, but it kind of seemed inevitable given the experience at school, where when the first computer arrived, the boys were allowed to use the computer and the girls were allowed to watch the boys using the computer. And so that seemed normal. And although the landscape has changed during my career, I I don't think I didn't find it great, but I don't think I found it so sort of unpleasant as I find it today when I see it. But largely because diverse teams are so good for business. So maybe I've got a slightly different sort of view about it. But I have to say that the landscape has changed all the way through that career. So yes, you were a novelty, but then there was this stage when diversity was seen as like a necessary evil by a largely male sort of largely male companies, and therefore women who did get to a senior position, they all seemed to try and pretend they were men, but like harsher. And it wasn't just about shoulder pads, it was also doing everything to keep other females at bay because they were kind of a threat. And that was so divisive and so unpleasant. And I think that, I mean, all of the junior women just tried to keep away from other females, which is not the case now. So nowadays we have a great and supportive network of colleagues and allies, and we've got senior females and males all trying to support and nurture the diversity. Again, as I say, it's not just about targets; it's about successful business. So I think there's really a lot of there's a lot of sort of consideration there. That said, I would say I'm reading The Authority Gap at the moment, and you would think that was really out of date and you didn't really need to think about it anymore. But actually, having illuminated the challenges that women and other less represented groups still face, it's quite clear that there's still work that needs to be done. But I know that during my career, I came across a number of things, and one of the things is, as you'll have noticed, I use my hands a lot. So I can tell you that the other members of the exco, when they're trying to put a point across, do not do this. So I actually took to sitting on my hands to stop myself doing it, because it's such a habit. And I have a colleague at work who is really, really great at getting people to go, oh, he's just such a great person. Even if things are on fire in his department, everyone thinks, oh, he's doing so well. And I've started to adopt some of his mannerisms. So he sits very still, he speaks very slowly, he has a deeper voice, which I can't do very well. But actually, there's a number of characteristics that I can bagsy for me that allows me to be a little bit more palatable, a little bit easier. But there was one point in my career where I had been moved into a sort of senior managing director position, and against something like 11 colleagues, all of whom were male. And the word went out that I'd got this job because I was a woman, and I was the only woman on the list. And so my first town hall at that organisation. So everybody's joining globally, thousands of people from around the globe. And I said, look, before I start this town hall, actually I did do it with my hands because I was standing up, so I couldn't keep myself still. I said, look, I have heard that I've only got this job because I'm a woman. So I'm going to give you a canter through my CV, and then you can make your own mind up, and then we'll start the town hall. And actually,
Nice.
so many people remember that as being like, F you, everybody.
Yes. Oh,
So
that's,
I actually
that's
I was very pleased about that. So I'd just say, for anyone listening, being authentically you, even if you have to get other sort of skill sets in your tool belt, the sitting on the hands, the being calmer, finding ways to actually sort of respond rather than reacting, finding different ways to not cry meetings, whatever it is that is your thing, just try and see if you can find ways in which you can do that. And if you see someone with a characteristic that you like, study them or ask them, how did they do that? So It's
Yeah.
achievable. If they can learn it or they can be it, you can be it. So.
That's some really good advice. And you can still be authentic yourself, even though you see characteristics that others, that's just something that you might want to learn and bring on board. But, I'm glad you said that. So just this weekend, which was Mother's Day, I was with my daughter who is just starting her first job as like a co-op, and she's an engineer. She's a mechanical engineer. And but she says to me, she says, when I tell people, oh, I'm a mechanical engineer, they all say, oh, that's great. So much opportunity. And you're a woman. So that's even a plus. And she's like, I am so sick of people saying that to me. Like, I'm working hard. I'm getting this job because I worked hard and I've got good grades. And she said, I don't like it when they say that. It kind of diminishes, like, do I really deserve it? And she goes, I just wish people would stop saying it. And I agree. I wish, it's important to do these sorts of things, but we need to really think about women deserve these jobs.
Absolutely. It reminds me of an absolutely fantastic, I'm not going to do a skip, it's not a skip ad moment, but there was a company that was providing t-shirts, and one of them had engineer written on it and the other one had male engineer. And I thought it was just awesome. Just so good.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the number of times I used to be called a female engineer, it's just like it's a different thing, really?
Yeah, exactly. Well, just to pivot a bit to your current role. So you're in an industry in banking, and we're in a pretty unique time, right? What you mentioned, AI. I mean, there's just such this rapid movement of change. And banking always seems to me to be a much more, conservative industry, all of the, the security that we need, all the regulations that are part of it. But you're doing a lot at Natwest. Like, you're introducing so much that I'm sure your customers are feeling and seeing. And is that something that, you've really had to, figure out the balance? Like, how were you able to really drive some of that agenda forward?
Well, so first of all, I'm actually very fortunate that people listen in the organisation I'm working for, and generally, so if I can present something that makes sense, then people will listen, which is really great. But the way I find it really a good thing to do is that generally when I'm suggesting something, people will say, no, you can't do that. That's what I usually hear. And it's like a thing all the way through my career. You can't do that. No. And so the people then would say all the reasons why I can't do whatever it is that I'm wanting to do, at the time, putting the mobile middle tier into the public cloud, or, putting Gen AI at scale during one of the pilots, that sort of thing. No, you can't do that. And so they then tell me why I can't do it, which is just such a gift, because, okay, so I can't do it because of these reasons, which means I can do it if I address those reasons. And so it lends itself to being able to be fully bought in. So people give me every reason why not, and then finding ways. So coming back to my dad being an engineer, finding ways to solve this problem, and coming back to what you said, it's about problem solving. And so finding ways to address the things that they're genuinely worried about. It's not just they're saying no for nothing. They just generally have a worry about reputational or models or ethics or something. It's just, okay, I totally agree. Let's look at how we can solve it so that you feel like you can say yes to it. And so yeah, that would be my take on it.
I loved what you said about, like you said, it's a gift when they say, no, you can't do it for these reasons. But yeah, they just basically gave you the roadmap of how to make it happen. And I think we all need to think about, we're all told no many times because of whatever reason, cost or whatever it might be. But if we turn it around, that really becomes, your roadmap. So that was really good. So I have to ask you, so one of the things that we do on our show is, we have our show every 2 weeks, and our last guest was Sandy Carter, and we asked our prior guest to always have a question for a future guest, and she wrote a book called AI First, Human Always. And for her, it was really about, like you said, there's so much that we can do around technology, but really AI is almost like a human story, right? It's around how an individual can really start to engage with technology in a very different way. And this was her question for you, if you can answer this. She says, you're leading digital transformation, which is often driven by technology, but how do you ensure the human experience for both your employees and your customers remains the center of your transformation? So how do you do that in your role?
I mean, that's a fantastic question. I mean, it's a great question. And by the way, I really enjoyed Sandy's session because I did get to listen to it. And I just want to thank you for the beautiful compliment that you gave me at the end of it. It really, it's always lovely when someone says something nice. So thank you. So in answer to the question, it's an incredibly exciting time to be alive, isn't it? With all the tumult in the world, the technology and the innovation continue to break all of the barriers, and we have the opportunity to create a world that's science fiction but wrapped around human beings. So I think if we just think about human in every single thing we do, that really can help us. So for example, we would think about, in Natwest, we think about AI complementing our workforce, making it easier for colleagues and to do their jobs and empowering them during their day-to-day work. So I can think about our Gen AI assisting with customer services. So we've got about 7,000 colleagues using our new cloud-based contact center platform, Amazon Connect, and they will have enhanced customer transcription and sentiment analysis we're experimenting with this in order to just have a much rounder, quicker, better experience. And all of that has to go through our AI and data ethics principles. So that's really exciting because it's new, but you're doing it like that. And then when we think about customers, the amount of attention we gave to making sure that Cora Plus, which is our Gen AI piece of Cora, who is our deterministic AI, traditional AI virtual assistant, that Cora Plus really kept under very close watch until we were really sure that we were able to we're giving good customer outcomes, not, no model hallucinations, giving the right answers, doing it in such a way that, it's just really enhancing the human being's experience. Those things are the way in which we would do that. So freeing up from routine and time-consuming pieces to allow, like inputting data, completing paperwork, or reviewing documents or stuff, getting AI to do that so that the human being can really literally enjoy the best bits, which is connecting with other humans. I think that's really how we've done it. And we've done it in a very systematic way, experimenting first, checking things ruthlessly, getting principles and data and ethics principles in place that would apply to AI, and just making sure that we really think about the customer all the time. That's the answer to that question. Just think about the customer all the time.
And I'm curious. So sometimes when I have these conversations with executives like yourself, they also though run into, and I'm curious if you had any of this from your own staff, like this. There's this thing of, oh, is AI going to take my job? Or am I going to lose my job? Or, are they as accepting as much as you would like them to be? Did you find any resistance from the teams on the ground, or did they want to take hold of it, want to use it, and saw it as an opportunity for them? How did you work with that?
It's actually a really interesting question. We have executive listening sessions, and at those executive listening sessions, it could be on diversity, it could be on anything. I volunteered myself for the multi-generational one because I wanted to see, we've got multiple generations in our workforce. I just wanted to see what they were thinking, what they were hearing, and I'm meant to stay quiet during this and listen to what's being said. And the thing that I found really amazing was there was a real keenness, all of them, to actually get involved with things, whether it's at the later end of their career or the earlier end of their career. But all of them were nervous about am I going to fall behind? It was just like a universal, articulated in the same way by every generation. So I think there's something in there that we need to think about, and that is, you tend to feel less likely you're going to be disrupted out of existence if you've understood the thing that is apparently going to disrupt you. So we have things, we have when you're doing training, where it used to be, you just watch training videos and then you learn, we now have AI interacting with you as a sort of like a colleague going, yeah, that's a great answer. Have you thought about this? What do you think about that? And just getting used to the technology, but in a sort of safe space. And that has been really good. And we've given Gen AI tools to safely to all of our colleagues now. I think that's just been rolled out. And so everyone can play. We have a number of days where we're meant to be training ourselves, and we can take days away from the office or away from our day-to-day work in order to do that. And so I'm really encouraging people to sort of, here's some link. This is a link to a brilliant, brilliant thing on prompt engineering. Try that, or try this, learn that, and it's all available. We have a sort of tech academy, and people could just dive into it and learn, whether it's bite size. So things like resilience training, actually resilience against the sort of overwhelmingness of change is actually a technique in and of itself. So it doesn't just have to be about prompt engineering and vibe computing. It can also be about how do I actually make myself calm enough to be able to listen and understand and feel confident with these things.
That's really great to hear, because I did see a study once where I was thinking, when you look at the age groups, like you mentioned, if someone's older, more advanced in their career, that they might be more concerned about it, and younger folks would be more accepting. But actually, it was the other way around. And I was sitting there going, it's because, I'm tired and I would love more help in my job. So that might have to be part of it, to be able to help them. But that was really great to hear. I loved how you had that kind of a forum, because that would be a great way to help that change. So there's some really good insights there. I do want to ask, because women have had a more challenging time just in IT itself, how do we get more women into important roles, see it as a place to be? Sometimes I think of whether you're in HR or you're in accounting, there's lots of ways that you can utilize technology and become much more involved in the technology footprint at your company, or how you can utilize it. So it seems like AI, though, is even taking us to the next level of that, like how you engage. So do you see that as a positive, like really a catalyst for women to hopefully drive more numbers? And if so, or what recommendations? Because we don't want to be left behind. I think I'm even worried, do I know enough about what's going on so I'm not left behind? I'm great at my job. What do you recommend for women to stay in front?
So first of all, you never get left behind. I mean, when I stepped away from my job when I had babies, okay, within a couple of weeks, I thought, oh my gosh, I've got left behind. But actually, you get back in after you've had a baby, and it's like riding a bike. It's maybe 10 minutes of wobble, and then you're off again. So one of the things I would say is it's never too late to try it. Despite the fact that it's like, oh, this and that, whatever. I'm sure people must have felt very much like that when the O model came out, which was like, wow, O model, and then suddenly it was DeepSeek. Suddenly that came out, and it's just like within minutes of each other. Everyone's like panicking. I thought I was running after this, and it was ChatGPT, 3.5 turbo, and then it was 4, and then it was and just calm. Calm is the thing. And so what I would say is start somewhere, anywhere. I mean, go on the internet and just start somewhere, or within your organization, pick something to learn about. You just get into the habit of learning, of acquiring new knowledge, of thinking it through, and actually thinking, okay, and how would that affect me, and what might that mean I need to learn? And it's almost like a habit. I mean, one of the things that I do with my team, I'm sure they're really delighted with this, by the way, I do thinking homework. So I will say, okay, here's a scenario. I'm in the multiverse, and I've decided to buy myself a pair of jeans. And as soon as I think about jeans, immediately these jeans, all different jeans, pop up around me with their different green credentials, and they are on an avatar of my body, perfect. And I can see, oh yes, I like those ones. And then I will blink. That will make the purchase. It will then get delivered by an Uber driverless car an Uber drone will come out of the back, put my parcel, and then the Uber will go and park on a road where there's a charging point underneath. And because that Uber is a customer of Natwest, a non-human customer of Natwest, it would charge. Okay, so I'll say that, and I'll send this like really strange kind of paragraph, and I'll say, have a think about this. If this happened, what would it mean for every single piece of the thing that you currently look after? Because really, that being able to project to the future, and that no one knows what that future is, by the way, project to the future and say, okay, what impact would that have? What would I have to think about? What would a non-human bank account actually look like, or how would we process it, and so on. And then, and there'll be others. I'll throw out another one for their weekend homework. They don't have to do it. It's just thinking homework. But the fact is, you need to get into the habit of pausing and thinking. And I would say, you can learn anything, but actually just getting into the habit of being able to give yourself a chance to be able to take on board things and really consider them, that really helps to anchor it and make it less scary.
Oh, and dream what it could be. Well, I'm so thrilled that you're at the helm where you are, because as a customer of Natwest myself, and some other banks, yes, it's so exciting. As you said, the future is just exciting. So glad you're there. And it's also an opportunity for all of us to just dream and just consider what it might be, because we have tools now available to us to really help us dig in. So that's great. So good. Well, I really appreciate this chat. And before I let you go, though, so I would like to ask you if you have a question for our next guest. So in 2 weeks, Haley will be back, and she will be talking to Joanne Chi. And she is a winner in our Rising Star category, and she's actually with Wipro, and she lives in Singapore, so that's exciting to have someone from that part of the world as well to be joining us. But if you could give us, what question would you like us to ask Joanne?
Okay, so obviously I stalked her a little bit when I knew that she was going to be on the next one, and I have to say I really loved her zest for sort of customer obsession, and there was a lot of discussion around the sort of rapid evolution of embedded experience. So I would ask Joanne, given your work in public sector and enterprise, which touch so many people in the different countries, how do you envisage the evolution of technology and human interaction in those industries specifically?
Oh, really a great question, and one for her to ponder. And that's going to be great to listen to that answer. So thank you again so much, Wendy. Thanks for being part of our program. Thanks for being part of Women in Digital. Allowing us to just take a peek inside of your life and your career and just learn from that and get some tidbits of wisdom from you. So thank you so much for that. And I'm sure we'll be connecting again sometime soon, because it's an active, great community out there for us to engage. So thank you so much. And thank you everyone thank you everyone for joining. So we'll be back in 2 weeks. Haley will be here, and we'll be talking with Joanne. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.